All right. Tribalistic Cultists of MMORPGs. Without further ado, let's get into it. It sounds like such a good video based on the title.
Let's flash back to a time before computers and the internet were common in most households. To obtain information, you went to the library. To watch your favorite show, you had to find it on the TV guide or rent it from Blockbuster.
We're just a bunch of boomers, boys. We're just a bunch of boomers.
And to interact with friends, you had to pick up the phone from Fallout. What is this crap? How did people live like this? You can't even watch porn on it.
Whoa, whoa.
Don't be lonely. Talk live to your special lady tonight. International long-distance rate supply as low as 57.
What are we watching?
Eventually, technology advanced far enough that consumers didn't need a garage to store 5 megabytes of data. As the personal computer had started to become more and more standard in households, many industries would be revolutionized, including, of course, the most important of all, video games. Multiplayer games in particular would see a revolution, the likes of which they had never seen before, as instead of handing the controller to a friend beside you, you could, on demand, at any time, play against a stranger from across the world.
Oh yeah.
This would not only change existing genres, but also create entirely new ones. One of the biggest being, the most intense yet, the MMORPG, where players could come together from all over the world to form virtual online communities. And especially ever since the breakthrough release of World of Warcraft in 2004, people love them. Some people really love them.
Yeah.
Actually, like if MMOs were a person, they would want to wear their skin. Levels of obsession.
What's the fucking emotion in the bastard?
It is a pretty intense genre of game. They are very time consuming. They can be quite expensive. And people, as a result, become quite invested into them.
Very
so
invested.
Much so that their love for a particular game can manifest itself into disdain for another, or even the transgressors who dare play them.
Oh, yeah, this is very true. This is very true, yeah. Tribalism. Like, basically, if you play one MMO, you are automatically thinking every other MMO is garbage, and yours is the only good one. I mean, you see this a lot with WoW. Actually, you see this a lot within WoW, like retail to classic or classic to retail. Like, I'm a classic Andy and a retail sucks, you know, or like vice versa. You know, it's really, really interesting. You know, I'm guilty of this for sure. I've been trying to, in recent years, be more open-minded to like, oh, well, different games have different things to offer, and let's go try out those different games, right? So I've tried things like Lost Ark and New World and Classic and Kata and Retail and SOD and Hardcore, and like trying to experience the things that each one has to offer. And instead of expecting, like having the expectation of, I want this, go in with an open mind of like, what does this actually offer? And, you know, see if I like it or not, right? Like, for example, on Retail, if you go and play it right now and you expect MOP, you have an expectation, like you quit a MOP, you quit back in 2014 because of school or work or whatever, and then you're subbing 10 years later, 2024, and you have the expectation of MOP. You go on Retail, like it's not that anymore. That's gone. Retail is completely different. But if you go into Retail with a completely open mind of like, let me just try this game. Let's not even call it World of Warcraft. Let's just try this game. It's actually pretty good. And people might disagree with me on that, but I think it's actually pretty good. It's just not the WoW we remember. But if you have the association of it needs to be this, and you put it into a box and it's not that, then by your definition of what you want, it's not that. You all of a sudden call it bad. It's like, well, it's not really bad. It's just not the thing that you want it to be anymore, right? And that's kind of like the root of this conversation. And it's like, I think changing the expectation of what your experience is probably like the way to move forward if you want to enjoy other stuff. Now, I guess there's nothing wrong with just enjoying your side of the internet for the rest of time either. But for me, especially as a streamer, I've been trying to like branch out a bit more and like try the pros of other games and just see what they have to offer. What a great topic for a video.
Welcome to another episode of MMO Theory.
I haven't
the
played
series where
FF,
we analyze the MMORPG industry and the people who play them. And today we're going to analyze MMO tribalism, what it looks like, why it happens, and its effect on...
This thread is full of desperate WoW fanboys with empty friends lists who are trying to convince the remaining few WoW players to not jump ship and go FF because they know these players would never come back to that pile of garbage that's current WoW. Like bald guys doing comb overs, trying to convince you that they still have lustrous hair, but they're not fooling anyone, and it makes them look pathetic.
And fan bases, the industry at large, and social media as a whole. So, tribalism is defined as the tendency of individuals to form strong emotional attachments and loyalties to specific online communities, groups, or ideologies. Social media platforms provide spaces for users to interact with others who share similar interests, beliefs, or identities. But in the case of tribalism, the shared interest can often transform into a combined hatred for another, transforming an environment that was once characterized by shared enthusiasm to toxicity, and leading to this us versus them mentality. It's like,
all right, guys, PC. All right, hold up.
And leading to this us versus them mentality.
All right, guys, PC versus console. There's only one right answer. PC. Okay. Yep, definitely. I agree. Xbox. Versus, I'm just proving his point. Xbox versus PlayStation. Guys, it's Come on, it's Xbox. Let's be honest. It's Xbox. WoW versus FF. I mean, I've actually never played FF. I've actually never played FF. I have played a console a lot. I've played PlayStation. I've played Xbox. I've never played FF. So like I guess I'm a WoW player, but I've never actually tried it. So I can't hate on it, I guess. Prequels versus sequels. Okay, that's Marvel versus DC. I don't really like care about either. I know that's kind of crazy. Dune versus Star Wars. Gotta go with Star Wars on that one. South Park versus Family Guy. I mean, the WoW South Park was really funny. I don't know. I haven't watched like a ton of either. Oh, that's actually hard. I don't know. South Park or Family Guy, chat? Oh, that's actually tough. WWE versus AEW. Ooh. I don't know what this is. AEW? GTA versus Saints Row. I don't know what Saints Row is. Oof. Okay, we'll keep playing the video.
It's like the old Xbox versus Nintendo versus PlayStation console wars. But I would make the argument that it's even more intense with MMOs for a variety of reasons. The first just being time investment, whether it be leveling, raiding, economy, PvP.
Well, people want their MMO to be the best MMO because it justifies the time they've spent. If you spend a bunch of time in a game that nobody plays, your achievements are meaningless. And if you spend a bunch of time in a game that everybody plays, other people can recognize your achievement as some level of greatness of like, oh, wow, that's pretty cool. So you get a justification for your time spent if more people are playing the game that you're enjoying to some degree. So it's like you want people to recognize that your MMO is good. And if people start leaving and quitting, it makes you feel like you wasted your time.
Although MMOs come in many different flavors, they often share one characteristic. They're time consuming. The goal of the MMO developer is to keep the player hooked and forever creating new obstacles, right? And also satisfying ways to overcome these obstacles, whether that be in the form of quests, raiding, PvP content, whatever. And so each of these activities are designed to sink days, weeks, months, years into, all the while the players invest more and more time into them. So a lot of why this tribalism happens has to do with how humans shape their identity. The more time that we tend to invest into things, the more emotions we also invest into that same thing.
Right, exactly.
The special personal connection is formed as it becomes a daily part of our lives. Some would describe it as a comfort activity. So with how MMOs are structured, with activities resetting daily, raids resetting weekly, and so on, there's this incentive to make them a constant, everyday part of your life. Toxicity such as with tribalism, often spawns from emotion.
Let the hate flow through you.
And with these MMOs, there's this huge potential for this very heavy emotional investment that comes with time. In addition, we also have money. In the early days, the monetization model for MMOs was as follows. You bought the box and also a subscription to play the game, and every couple of years, if it was popular enough, expansions. This itself already made them much more expensive than any other genre of game, but it made sense. Because content is continuously being added, it does make sense that the game demands this constant flow of income to fund it. But as time has shown, this would prove to be chump change compared to the monetization models of today, such as cash shops selling cosmetics, or even straight up character progression, or battle passes, or all of the above. The genre is far and wide more profitable today than it ever was during its inception.
That's crazy.
Did you know that StarCraft 2, a game that took hundreds of people years to make and sold millions of copies on launch, was financially outperformed by a $15 store mount in World of Warcraft? These MMOs make...
I think he mentioned this in another video that we just covered like last week. But yeah, apparently that's true, and that blows my mind. Like, that blows my mind, man. Like, that, it makes me think it's not true, but like, dude, if that is true, that is so crazy to me.
Absurd amount of money, because people spend an absurd amount of money. And so the investment from the player isn't just time and emotional in nature, it's financial. And this lies at the source of tribalism. All three of these different forms of investments can spiral out of control very easily, because aside from time investment, the genre is also largely defined by its addictive nature. The feeling of slowly but surely progressing a character day by day alone is an addictive feeling, and RPG games have always had this appeal to them. But when MMOs were released, the game changed. These single-player games had this safety mechanism of an ending credits that the players would eventually reach in an amount of time proportional to the level that they got hooked on them. But now, because content is being continuously added, there is no finish line. There is no end.
True.
Collection-based systems are introduced.
Notorious Gladiators, Drake.
Items to add to the collections are continuously being sold in a genre of game based around character progression that also constantly resets character progression. And because of this, there's no longer a limit to the amount of time, emotion, or money the player can invest into them. And it is in fact in the developer's best interests that they invest more and more and more into their game, of course. MMO developers and publishers love addicts because addiction is a core part of the MMORPG. When you see these online groups behaving extremely toxic to what very well may be well-intentioned critique of a particular game, understand that these people may not even be defending their favorite game. They're defending their choice to invest such a large amount of time, emotion, and finances into them. Over time, even if the quality of the game starts to wane, a person who spent 2 decades of their lives in it isn't going to be as capable of objectivity as they once were, as admitting fault with the game now in a way puts into question their decision to invest so much into it. So they may start saying crazy things like, Shadowlands was a great expansion. So what happens is that as these games lose quality, in order to maintain satisfaction, standards must be lowered, but not only for themselves, but also for everyone else within that community. Tribalism often gets very personal very quickly, but in the tribalist's mind, it became personal the moment that you critiqued the game because they have attached their identity to it. To you, you're critiquing a game, but to them, you're critiquing their decision to invest so much into it. And this isn't just MMOs, it's not just even gaming, it's social media as a whole. Whether it be gaming, politics, movie fandom, whatever, people just have the natural tendency to attach their identity to things that they enjoy or believe in. Further, they also surround themselves with others who reinforce their decision to do so. By doing so, this positive feedback loop is formed within these communities, and those who deviate from that are immediately ostracized. They are labeled as flip-floppers, enlightened centrists, weak-willed, and so on. In these cases, rationality and patience is often cast aside in favor of blind fervor and towing the line set in front of them at any cost. Social media as a whole is built upon the backs of tribalism and polarization. So, considering how MMOs are all basically different forms of social media, if you think of it, it's no wonder that this tribalism culture is so prevalent. And the sad thing about it is that they only hurt themselves. The MMO industry is largely monopolistic. You have World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy XIV,
like OSRS
and
maybe,
then everything else.
Yeah.
New MMOs are like fireworks. They're spectacular for a fraction of a second.
Yeah.
Although they have these giant launches for one reason or another, they seem to fizzle out extremely quickly. And out of the thousands,
like it's so interesting with MMO launches because they're all like this. Like they peak so high and then the fall off is like so inevitable, which to me means there's so many people out there in the world like looking for a great MMO to play. Like the market's there, but people will quit if it's not like perfect. But I don't know. It's a tough task, right? If someone's gonna do it, it might be Riot, but it's gonna take a long time, like 5+ years minimum, right? Like it's gonna be a tough task to compete with WoW, if you can do it. But like the market's there, man. Every time a new MMO comes out, like a bunch of people are just like, yo, is this it? Is this what we've been waiting for? You know, like like a million people come out of nowhere to try the game. You know, it's crazy.
Released to date, we're left with 2 frontrunners, pretty much. Competition breeds innovation.
Yep.
MMOs vary in monetization models. Some require a sub fee, others don't, but what they all compete for unequivocally is your time. There are few out there who have enough time to dedicate to 2 MMOs at once.
Yeah,
so
no way.
The more quality MMOs are out there, the more they have to compete with one another, and the more they have to compete, the higher quality they become, and the less they sacrifice at the altar of...
That's what's hard with WoW. It's really hard to maintain your character in World of Warcraft, let alone like to Kata and to Sod and to these other things. Oh man, I just realized what Blizzard's doing. They're creating alternative products for their customer base so that if they quit WoW, they start playing another version of WoW. Because Blizzard's realized that people are going to quit. And instead of them playing like Final Fantasy, they'll play SOD for a few months until they gain interest again in retail. Oh yeah, I remember learning about this in marketing. It's a cannibalization, right? It's a business move. You create an alternative product for your customer base so that no other competing companies will make that product instead. You create the product so they stay within your business model instead of leaving your business model and going to someone else's. You create the alternative product for them. Holy crap. I said this in Vanuki's chat and they hated me. Oh yeah, no, this is probably exactly what they're doing. That's actually really smart. Holy, wow, Blizzard, very, very smart of you on that. Jeez.
Cash shop. So in reality, what they should be doing is cheering each other on as it puts a fire under the developers to create better experiences for their games. Is it any coincidence that Dragonflight, which people seem to generally like, came after it became clear that 14 was providing some serious competition to what used to be the undisputed king? But again, this is all based on logic, and Tribalists don't operate on logic.
Whoa.
As described, they operate on emotion, but the sooner that the community can recognize that together they are strong and put aside their petty differences, the sooner they shed these insecurities and open up and echo critique that may very well improve the thing that they invest so much into. As a result, the better products they get, the better politicians they get, and most importantly, of course, the better MMOs they get. Like the video if you liked it, because I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Yeah, good video. I mean, we've talked about this like all the time that having alternative MMOs is a really good thing, even if we don't necessarily play them. But if enough people like them, and it makes Blizzard like, okay, well, there's some real competition. We have to make a better product, right? Very basic business 101 mindset. Competition breeds innovation, right? It's like you want competition in the marketplace because if you have one monopoly, then they can kind of do whatever they want. And if you have just one company, you know, in a specific market, then it kind of sucks for everybody, especially the consumer, because they can kind of just bully you and you can't decide to spend your money elsewhere. But as long as there's competition, you can be like, okay, well, I'm gonna stop buying this product because it sucks, and I'm gonna start buying this product because it's a little better. And then company A is like, well, wait a minute, we want your business again, so let's make our product better so that you come back to us. And then company B is like, well, no, we want your business back. So then, you know, it's like Goku and Vegeta. Like, would Goku be as strong without Vegeta, and would Vegeta be as strong without Goku? It's like, no, they push each other, right? That's like the basis. So it's like, yeah, we want more MMOs, like real MMOs to compete with, right? Like the Riot one, or maybe Ashes or something, so that I mean, they might be good in themselves, but also it might push the MMO genre further. It might make WoW better. If the Riot MMO is kick ass, WoW will become better. Right? And that's pretty cool. That's a cool thing to think about. What's a real MMO? I mean, funded by, like, actually funded, like a good MMO, not just like a blow over, like, oh, let's play this for a week. I mean, some like real competition, because yeah, there's been a ton of small projects over the years, but there's been very few like real contenders. That's what I mean by real. I don't know. Anyway, dude, this is a good topic from Mad Season. What a great video.